So the activists asked, money for the Olympics, what about the compensation for Bhopal victims? Is it that easy? Should the Olympics actually be dragged into it, as some athletes point out? Joining me tonight for that debate, I'm joined by Naveen Shah from London. He's a Labour Assembly member for Brent and Harrow and, of course, supports the agitation by MPs against Dow sponsoring the Olympics. I'm also joined by Farooq Thondi, a writer, columnist and former commissioning editor for Channel 4. Also joining me, Yashodhara Raje Scindia from the BJP, MP from Gwalior. And interesting, of course, that we had two Scindias on the show tonight, completely coincidental. And with me also is Murad Ali Khan. He's an Arjuna awardee and coach for shooter Ranjan Sodhi. Thank you all very much for joining me tonight. Mr. Naveen Shah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Shah, a lot of us in India have been watching with interest this agitation by British MPs, because it's interesting that in the Indian political class, this hasn't really come up yet, but it's interesting that British MPs are taking this up. Why do you think this has happened?
Well, because it is a strong humanitarian ground, and this is a matter of justice for the victims, and a very, very serious matter. And we do not expect people in London, the authorities in London, to be ignoring the very issue about justice and fairness for the victims of Bhopal. Not only we lost thousands of lives, but there's neglect from the company, and it is wrong to sponsor a company who has been so mainly instrumental in negligence and not owing up to their responsibility to the people who died and to the communities who are still suffering in Bhopal.
Right. If I could bring in Yashodhara Raje Scindia, BJP MP, and of course former sports minister in Madhya Pradesh as well. It's interesting the contrast we see here again of British politicians talking about the Bhopal shadow over the Olympics and over Dow. And recently, of course, some years ago, there's a proposal for Dow to come back into India. There were protests at that time. And even now, it is only after popular outrage that the whole Supreme Court judgment, the CBI filed a fresh case about the Bhopal gas victims. Why has the Indian political class seemed largely immune to these issues?
I don't think that they are immune to these issues, Sonia. Right now, we're talking about the London Olympics and Dow Chemicals. Dow Chemical has a shadow over it of Union Carbide. Don't tell me that the London Olympics Committee doesn't have anybody else to go to for sponsorship of this cover over the stadium. I just came from New Orleans and I saw that the Superdome over there has just had a beautiful wrap done for the same amount of money by Mercedes-Benz. Why can't we get somebody non-controversial into this? It goes against the sporting spirit to have somebody like Dow Chemicals, which is so controversial, which is a pesticide company, a chemical company, which has caused harm to thousands of people in Bhopal, which still has a stigma attached to it. I don't see why we need to bring them in as a sponsor.
No, sure. But actually, the question I was asking was more about the fact that why is it that we haven't seen the same kind of outrage amongst the Indian political class, not just for the London Olympics, but we haven't seen it for years. It seemed to be a closed matter once the court awarded, once the compensation was awarded, paltry compensation. It wasn't political outrage, but public outrage, outrage by activists who worked for the last 20 years, which actually forced a rethink by the government as well. I mean, for instance, the Bhopal MP, we just spoke in the story, didn't even know that this was an issue at all, even though activists in the state have been raising this as soon as they heard Dow was sponsoring the Olympics.
Sonia, I think it is also a question of awareness. As far as this whole controversy is concerned, you do have a situation where, in Hindi we say, samay samay ki baat hai. There never was so much transparency in politics as there is today.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.